Welcome back, everyone. In this video, our goal is going to be to create some static mesh foliage types. In the last video, you saw how to access foliage mode here, and you saw briefly what foliage mode can do for us. That is to populate our world here with a lot of different instances of chairs and trees and rocks or whatever we want to add. In this video, we want to add our foliage types that we actually wish to use to populate our landscape here. Things like trees and rocks and bushes and that sort of thing. So that's what this one is going to be all about. Now, there's a few different ways to create foliage types, and we're going to cover all the different ways here. The first way you can add a foliage type is to click on this green button here within your foliage mode. And if you click on this, it's going to say, do you want to create an actor foliage or static mesh foliage? Now, actor foliage allows you to create a foliage type that's going to be placing like a blueprint out there. In this one, we want to be using static mesh foliage. And our chair in the last video was technically a static mesh foliage. This is the foliage type that's going to use that mesh instancing, and it's going to make it more performant for you. So let's go ahead and choose a static mesh foliage. And it's going to say, where do you want to create this static mesh foliage? And we're going to do this under landscapes, our foliage folder here. And let's create a new folder within here. I'm going to right click, new folder, and let's call this one Foliage Types. Click on that, and let's give this first foliage type a name. And which one do we want to create first here? I'm going to flip over my page and notes. We're going to do FT for foliage type underscore bush underscore 01. So that's the directory we're saving it to. That's our name. Let's click save. And right now we've got an empty foliage type. So this is simple enough to populate. Now, you just saw me click on it, and we could slot something in here, but let's find this in our content browser, shall we? So I'm going to go into my content browser. Under landscapes, foliage types, and I'm going to double click on this static mesh foliage type. You can see in the tooltip it says what the asset type is. And then across the top here where it says mesh, I'm going to put in SM underscore bush. This should be available in your starter content. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this and close it out. And now you can see back here in our foliage mode, our foliage type here is now populated. It's called FT bush, and you can see that the mesh is the SM bush. Now, our second way of adding a foliage type is going to be like we did in the last video, and that is by simply dragging and dropping a static mesh from our content browser up into our foliage type area up here. Now, for this one, I want to create a foliage type for a rock. So I came under my content, kite demo, environments, rocks, ground reveal rock folder right here. This is a content pack that we added earlier in the project. And I simply am going to left click and drag and drop this mesh. And once you left click on it, by the way, it shows this plus foliage type up here, and you release it up here, and it's going to say, hey, where would you like to save this foliage type asset? Because it's going to be saving a foliage type asset when we do this. So let's come under our landscape, foliage types folder, and this one we will simply call FT underscore rock underscore 01. And now we have a foliage type for a rock. Next, let's go on to way number 3 for creating a static mesh foliage type. For this one, I'm going to come back under my landscape foliage types directory. And down over here in the content browser, we can simply right click. And in our right click menu, we've got foliage, static mesh foliage. So 3 ways of doing this. And here we are going to create one called FT underscore tree underscore 01. And then I'm going to open this guy up, dock it across the top here. Let's slot in a mesh. There is one in the kite demo pack called Scott's Pine 01. Now you can feel free to slot in whichever rock, whichever tree, whichever bush that you may find. I'm going to slot in that one. Save it out. And then all I would need to do is simply add this up here. Drag and drop it like that. And then lastly, we're going to be creating a couple more foliage types here, and I'm going to take a little shortcut with my FT tree highlighted here. I'm just going to do Control+W. We're going to duplicate that, although I'm going to change out the name here to be FT grass _01. I'm going to open up this guy and dock that across the top. I'm going to change this one to be field. SM Field Grass, that is also in the Kite demo pack. I'm going to save that out, close that out, and then drag and drop this up to our list of foliage types. And then with this guy highlighted, I'm going to do, well, I'll show you the other way to duplicate. You can simply right-click on it, duplicate, and this one I'm going to call FT _fern _01. And I will double click on that guy, and here in our mesh field I will slot in SM _fern 02. That is also in the Kite demo pack. Obviously, feel free to slot in whichever mesh you want here. I'm going to save that guy out. Make sure we save that, exit that out, and then we're going to pop this up into our list of foliage types as well. So now we've got 5 different foliage types good and ready to go and paint into our level. But guys, we are set up for some videos moving forward here. That will do it all for this one. We will see you in the next one.